Welcome to the channel. Spring's coming. That means we have to get started in the fields. And yes, you hear the 460 behind me. Spring tooth or tooth, whatever you want to call it, drag harrow behind. I ran a pass through the garden here just to kind of see how the tractor would react. I still didn't mess with the carburetor on that thing yet. I need to do that. It's still, you have to run it with the choke, otherwise anything with load or it kind of dies. So I don't think it's getting enough fuel, so I know I have to check that, make some adjustments, but I just kind of want to make sure everything is kosher everywhere else and see how it's going to operate under load. Unfortunately, these things do drag a lot of trash, so I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. But we're going to go down to the one field down below the barn here, which is about an acre and a half, maybe 2 acres, somewhere in there, and we're going to try ripping it up and see what happens. It'll either collect a lot of trash, I don't know. We're going to try it, we'll find out. Otherwise, the 460 sounds pretty nice. Let's see how she does. This is a little tacky, so I have no idea how the soil conditions are going to be. Everything looks pretty good. Down in there is where it was a little bit wet before, and maybe over in there. So I'll have to see if it's really muddy or not. We may just avoid them areas for now. But I think it's going to actually rip it up pretty good. There's definitely trash in the field, but it's not overwhelmingly stringy kind of stuff with foxtail. Here's a little bit. for right now, we're just gonna stay out in the main field here. We're not gonna go over there in the grassy area where it's wet. This, I think, is all gonna be dry, other than there is a spring, I think, up in there. So I'm not too sure about that. Definitely a good collector of trash. My leveling bar came off. It's probably extremely early to be doing this, in all honesty, but I'm probably a couple weeks out from getting this planted, so barring it doesn't get too wet to where we end up with a bunch of swampy areas, because there's a couple out there. Not terrible, but there's definitely some. It's not doing a terrible job. This is only the second time it's plugged up on 3 passes around the entire field, so can't really complain. There's just too much trash out here in certain areas, and the closer I get to the center, the worse it's getting. As you can see, it's more so just a rake at this point. So this was a good test. We got at least a quarter of the field done, maybe a little bit more. The best thing to do is going to be run the disc over all this, just because there is a lot of matter left over, so especially kind of up in this range. So I think that's what I'm going to do, but at least it was a good test. I know what I have to do with the tractor. It's definitely starving for fuel, so I need to look into that and get that fixed. So that was at least a learning experience as far as the tractor goes. That way I'm not having to do this come hay season or whatever. So I'll get this cleaned out and we'll go back up to the barn. Half of it didn't even come out. Tractor runs good and fine when there's no load or anything on it or high throttle situations. But at least now I know how it's gonna act and what I gotta do. We put about an hour on this thing when I started it here this afternoon. It had 1 hour on the meter and now it has 2.1. To think this tractor was in the shop a year ago, all tore apart. So this year we're gonna have it for planting, we're gonna have it for harvest. I'm excited. We just gotta fine tune it, tweak it, which I knew ahead of time. Before today, I knew that. But I kinda wanted to see how bad it was. Now I know. So that's gonna do it for today's video, or today's test, whatever you wanna call it. I hope you enjoyed the 460 and some actual farming action, because it hasn't seen that in a while. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, like the video, and I'll see you next time.